This is Rogers TV. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like bundling your cardboard separately. These bundles can act as a lid for your blue box or placing heavier items such as magazines on top of papers with no material above the rim.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk Politics. I'm Deborah Hutchison in the Rogers TV studio. Our guest this week is Pickering Deputy Mayor Kevin Ash, who joins us via Zoom. Welcome. Great to have you back.
Thank you, Deborah. Glad to be back. Glad to be in good health.
Well, I was going to say the last time we talked to you was about a week before you learned that you tested positive for COVID-19. We haven't had a chance to talk to you about that. Let's talk about the experience. When did you first start to feel symptoms, and what were you feeling?
I started feeling symptoms on Tuesday, I think May the 5th or so. And it felt like a bad flu, chills, gastro, sweats. Spent the better part of a day in bed. My wife, as wives do, look after their husbands when they're sick. Put in a self-assessment to public health, and I got a call on the Wednesday by a doctor. He said, come in for a test. I went over to Ajax Pickering Hospital immediately, had my test on Wednesday, and confirmed COVID-19 positive on the Friday. And then my wife got it, and my granddaughter got it, and my daughter got it. Although my granddaughter and my stepdaughter didn't have any symptoms. And my wife and I soon recovered, but Karen got pneumonia. So her symptoms were a little bit more severe than mine, but we're all negative, back to work 100%, and feeling very good. Important to point out now that we're about to reopen our economy. The patios are open. It's important to remain vigilant in regards to social distancing, cleaning our hands, wearing a mask where appropriate. We're almost there, but we got to keep safe.
Is there concern that as we have now moved into stage 2 and that perhaps people are getting a little weary of the whole pandemic and will not be taking the precautions that they should be? It is still out there.
It's definitely out there. We only have to look to south of the border and see 6,000 new cases in Florida, 5,000 new cases in Texas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The pandemic can have a second wave. Durham numbers are excellent right now. We're only getting a handful a day, but we have to remain vigilant. We have to keep our social distancing. We have to be smart about our hand washing. We just got to keep going. We're almost there. And it's a tricky little disease or virus, because, I was preaching about being safe and I still got it. So you're not sure where you get it and who gets it and the like, but we're almost there. So let's keep at it.
Now, you said your stepdaughter, you believe you got it from her because she was working at Orchard Villa, correct?
She was working in Orchardville. She's now back in the hospital where she was redeployed from the hospital.
Right.
She never had any symptoms, and she's tested twice since then, negative since her positive test.
Right.
So I'm not sure the origin. It could have been community, but there was certainly an outbreak there where we lost 70 people to COVID-19, and hundreds or dozens and dozens and dozens more staff and residents there were tested positive. So it certainly was a hot spot, but it's now COVID-free. So that's a positive outcome.
A reason to smile in this crazy world, for sure. The families of the residents who lost their lives in such a tragic way are really pushing for changes and an investigation. Is that something you support?
Absolutely. City of Pickering did pass a motion asking for an investigation. That was passed unanimously. It was endorsed at Regional Council as well. Now, there is some debate about what that investigation. Some are calling for a public inquiry. Some are calling for the federal government to do a royal commission. The provincial government has committed to doing an arm's length independent inquiry that will have witnesses, etc., and they want to do it sooner rather than later. So I welcome that, and hopefully we can get some recommendations. I think one of the things we've learned about COVID-19 is we're going to have an adult conversation about how we treat our vulnerable elders, infection control, PPE for staff, as well as, the class 3 type of retirement homes that have ward systems. That's where a lot of the problems have been. As well, we're going to, again, have to have a conversation about private versus for-profit and versus public, because there's been, certainly in Ontario, a different outcome in for-profit versus publicly owned, although the reverse has happened in Quebec. So it's important that we look towards some solutions and get the partisan politics out of it and work towards getting better results for the residents and the families.
The provincial government has been criticized for, while they're willing to investigate, there are those that say their kind of investigation doesn't go far enough. Are you comfortable with what the provincial government is offering, or should we be doing more?
I'm not an expert on Royal Commissions, public inquiries. There's certainly litigation. The police are reviewing it as a criminal matter as well. I think there will be adequate review, that there be some sense of fact-finding as well as justice. So the public review by the government is really their decision to make rather than the City of Pickering or its council, but we've asked for an inquiry, and it appears that they're going to be doing that.
And I've also read where Pickering is planning a public memorial for the victims. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Once we're allowed to have some type of gathering, we're looking at a memorial, a lasting memorial. Certainly, we could do it at the site. But we're looking at doing some type of place of remembrance, either in our Esplanade Park or just up the road on Valley Farm Road, which is where the home is located. And the two local councillors, Councillor Butt and Councillor Pickles, will be working with the community and the residents and the families of the residents to make it appropriate vigil as well as a memorial in the longer period of time once we're back to normal.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier we're now, of course, into to stage 2 of reopening. What does that mean overall for residents? We know that restaurants are allowed to open on patios, but what about municipal facilities and parks and recreational facilities? What has changed in that respect?
Well, we've now announced plans to have our employees return to City Hall on a staged basis. We are now looking at operating summer camps for kids. We're looking at reopening our facilities. Sports fields are open for practicing, but no games at this point. Parks are open, our beaches are open. But we'll be looking at our rinks and our pools in a longer period of time. But the program we've been doing virtually has been overwhelmingly successful. We've been doing fitness classes. We've been doing crafts where kids, young families can pick up for their kids a craft, and we were oversubscribed for that at 600 every week. We have 1,500 Canada Day celebration kits that are going out for Canada Day Paint It Red the Durham way. for next Wednesday. So we've been doing a lot of things, and we'll be doing more and more, but we'll be doing it in a safe way, and we'll be rolling them out. And I encourage people to go to pickering.ca to find out about the facilities as well as the programs. We'll be looking at opening City Hall as well. Our plan is to remain virtual meetings for July, but we'll revisit that after the emergency has been hopefully ended on July 15th.
You mentioned Canada Day. It will be a very different Canada Day celebration this year. Correct?
Yeah, yes. We're doing it virtually. All municipalities in the region are doing it collectively. So mayors, and I include myself as acting mayor, have got together and done a fun video. And we have programming the afternoon of July 1st. We've got some programming at City Hall as well. The reality is, you know, Pickering has one of the biggest celebrations, often 10 to 15,000 people down in Kingsman Park to watch our fireworks. We're not doing that this year, except maybe perhaps virtually. You'll have to watch to see. But we got to do things safely, and we'll be able to celebrate Canada Day, hopefully in full recovery next year. But this is a unique year, and we're going to celebrate it in a unique manner. And I'm encouraging all Pickering residents to paint the city red in terms of showing love for our country. And I encourage everyone to participate.
It's a real testament to the cooperation amongst the municipalities and the region as a whole, is it not, to pull this all together?
Yeah, we're really all in the same boat in regards to not having the opportunity to celebrate Canada Day with our communities in a live form. So Chair Henry and staff at the region, as well as the staff at the cities, jointly put this together. And I think it's going to be a good celebration, and I'm looking forward to participating on Wednesday.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. We are going to take a quick break. We are in conversation with Pickering Deputy Mayor Kevin Ashe. Stay with us. We'll be back with more on Talk Politics after this.
Securing your recycling in a few steps is simple, like crushing your cans and bottles down in your container's blue box and your box board down in your papers box. This saves a lot of space and reduces the possibility of material blowing out of your blue box on windy days.
I did it.
I need it.
A hero gave it.
And I am alive.
As an organ donor, you can save up to 8 lives and enhance the lives of 75 others. Please go to our website. Pledge a gift of life. You'll be glad you did.
I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Allison.
We are so excited to be back for another season of The Parenting Show.
Yes, and the topics for this round are things like the infiltration of tech in the family, ways for parents to prevent underage drinking, good old sibling fighting and rivalry, and how to handle those nasty power struggles in the family.
And it's a great way for you to realize that you are not alone. It's all right here on Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm Jeff Mason. Do you love gardening? Do you want to learn how to turn your garden into a beautiful oasis? Join us each week on Let's Get Growing, only on Rogers TV.
We are back with Talk Politics. Our guest this week is Pickering Deputy Mayor Kevin Ashe. Welcome back.
Thank you.
As we're taping this a little early. The week that we are taping this, you had just had another long Durham Regional Council meeting, but it was an opportunity for our police chief to address Durham Council with his quarterly update. Lots to discuss there, and you as chair of the Durham Police Services Board. I want to ask you about the body-worn cameras pilot project for police officers. An awful lot of discussion on it at this meeting. If you could bring us up to date.
Sure. The body-worn cameras were done on a pilot project for about 90 officers in West Durham a couple of years ago. Over the course of a year, 2 platoons in the Ajax Pickering have used them. We are in the process of reviewing the positives and the negatives of the body-worn cameras, and we were in a position to report to the Police Services Board. The plan was to go in May. Unfortunately, a thing called COVID-19 happened, and the people on that work project were redeployed to the front lines. So we're working with the police command, and Regional Council yesterday asked for a timely submission of that report so that it could be back to them I believe it was September, to make some decisions about moving forward with body-worn cameras. It's certainly happening in other GTA police services. Toronto, I understand Peel is looking at it as well as TTC, police, fare inspectors, etc. So the new reality of accountability in police, because of the Black Lives Matter and the tragic situations that have happened, more so in the south of the border, but certainly we're not immune to it here in Canada, has certainly makes us look at accountability in policing and police-worn cameras in a different lens.
Do you feel there is going to come a time when every Durham police officer should be wearing a camera?
Yes, I do. I think it protects not only the community, it protects the individual officer, and I think it protects the profession of policing. So I think that will happen.
Can you shed light on what some of the preliminary results show with this pilot project and what the officers are saying?
The preliminary reports were mixed, to be honest. It is an added workflow, and there's an added cost in terms of editing, uploading, and the like, but there was higher degrees of enforcement of provincial acts. The actual footage is being used in court cases with a higher percentage of convictions, and we're also using it for training for police officers about what could be done better, what was done right. So I think there's a number of pluses. Money is one of the negatives. It's a significant undertaking to buy that technology. We estimate it could be $3 to $4 million for Durham Regional Police. So I'm hopeful that the report will come back with some findings. I think the community is expecting us to move forward, and based on what I heard during my 9.5 hours at council, I expect many councillors to be supportive of implementing it. So I'm looking forward to that report and a further dialogue when it occurs in the late summer and the fall.
There were also questions asked yesterday of the chief about the recruiting process and the selection process, and really taking a deeper look into a possible recruit's background and mindset and history as well.
Yes, we need our police service to be reflective of our community. Durham is one of the most diverse communities in all of Ontario and indeed all of Canada. So we need our police service to reflect that. We're in a fortunate position that we're in a growth mode in terms of hiring people. So we're able to identify members of racialized communities that are underrepresented and include them in a recruitment class. The reality is, however, that we're 900 strong frontline officers, and there's only 1% turnaround in addition to the retirements on a year-to-year basis. So we're looking at it, but it's the new recruits that we're targeting. The chief also announced a four-pronged approach to deal with the tensions with our racialized communities, including the collection of interactions with police on a race basis. We are mandated to collect race data in regards to use of force, but we want to expand that. It's hard to say that we're experience systemic racism without the data. So I think it's an important step to do that. We're also inviting community members to participate in our hiring so that, again, hopefully the recruits can reflect the diversity of our community. We're also doing further training about the duty to intervene. And what that means is, as we witnessed the horrific video of in Minneapolis, there was 3 officers that stood there and didn't do enough, in my view, and a young man died. So there's going to be further requirements for duty to intervene. And finally, we're going to do a deep dive into the demographics of our police service to find out. We speak many languages and we have many colors, but we need to do more. But we have to know what our base is because we're only in a position to identify what our new hires are as opposed to our current workforce. So we're going to do a deep dive into our current demographics to see where we can target to get further representation from our racialized communities.
There's also been a lot of talk recently about how police respond to calls where someone is having a mental health episode, and perhaps they should not be the first responders, or they should be responding with someone better trained to deal with someone's mental health. What's the position of Durham Police there?
Well, we do have 2 full-time nurses, mental health practitioner nurses that work with the police. Unfortunately, we lost them during the pandemic. They were redeployed at the hospital. They're rejoining our service as we speak. So that added resource is being included in our response. And it's quite true. We have many calls in regards to people dealing with addiction and mental health issues, and we are certainly open to a different delivery model if, in fact, a person best to respond doesn't necessarily have a gun. We're open to that conversation. I think the chief indicated that, and we have to do things better. We have to make sure that the vulnerable people in our community are treated appropriately, and people suffering from mental health are treated appropriately, and get the necessary resources to them. And if that includes the police, great. If it includes the police in a different manner, I'm also fine with that.
All right, let's move on. We've only got about, 4 minutes left. I want to talk about Mayor Dave Ryan. He has announced that he is planning to return. He had a double lung transplant, and he is on the road to recovery. Some great news.
Well, he tried to get a double lung transplant. He only got one of them.
Sorry.
But he's doing, he tried to get a double lung transplant. He's doing very well. The last number of weeks, he's been Zooming with me on different meetings. So he is certainly engaged. I can tell you he does need a haircut. But his plan is to be back later in the summer with him assuming the chair of the mayors back around Labor Day. So I'm delighted that he's returning. I'm honored that he gave me this opportunity to serve as acting mayor and deputy mayor. But I'll welcome him back to the corner office in City Hall, where I think he's a great leader, and look forward to working with him in a continued manner.
Let's also talk about the Pickering Casino, an update on that. Talk about bad timing. We're looking forward to this great economic opportunity, and COVID hits.
Absolutely. COVID hit us on, it was St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, when we shut everything down. The casino was supposed to open on April the 7th. I've been in the facility on 2 occasions since then. It's world class. It looks like you're in a Las Vegas casino. Now, COVID's going to change the operation, capacity, safeguards, and the like. I'm told that Pickering Resort Casino will open 30 days after all the other facilities open, once we get to the stage 3. So I'm hoping that's going to happen around Labor Day or so. It's will be a welcome addition to our community as well as to the city's pocketbook. We expect to make about $1 million a month, but it's going to be an economic driver. We're looking at the film studio as well, on Canada's largest, being built on that site, as well as the build out of the rest of Durham Live, which has the potential to have thousands and thousands of more jobs. So I'm looking forward to it, really as an economic driver, because our economy has been suffering, and we need some good news about recharging at things.
Quickly, we've only got about a minute left. The Pickering City Centre development was put on hold during COVID, correct?
That's correct. With our partner, the Ontario Pension Board, which owns Pickering Town Centre. Pickering Town Centre is now open again. I was there on Friday to do a ribbon cutting for a PPE store. Great idea. We're talking to a partner. I talked as recently as this week with Pension Board. We have a report coming to council on Monday, the 30th, which I guess will be a few days as we air this. It'll probably be already taken place, but there's a report on it that talks about re-engaging and getting going again on the most exciting project, a new library, a new performing arts center, and a new youth and senior center, as well as some housing.
Okay. So on that, we are out of time. Do you believe it? I could talk to you for hours there, sir. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today.
Great. Thanks, Deb, and everybody out there, stay safe.
Okay. And thanks to you for joining us. Until next time, I'm Deborah Hutchison.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
That cup of coffee in the morning may seem like the only choice, but is it really? Caffeine found in the coffee bean does block the drowsy-causing effect of chemicals, but that can only last for so long before we crash. The honey and tea way of getting out of bed is reaching for a cup of superfood matcha green tea. Unlike most teas, matcha powder uses the whole leaf and contains the plant energy of chlorophyll. 1 cup of matcha is like drinking 10 cups of regular green tea. Whisk in half a teaspoon until the tea dissolves. Within 10 minutes, matcha can regulate blood sugar, preventing glycemic slumps. Superfood matcha green tea, your new, most treasured energy booster.